Yes, okay, so here we are, as always, ready to have a good time. And let me speak the let me yes, I guess I call it speak the poem, Ginny, and then you can give your ideas and so can other people. And we're supposed to have another couple of people today. They told me they're coming, but let's see. I don't know, but I know that I don't know. I love that I don't know, that I can never know for sure. So I've stopped looking to understand you or convince you. And now finally, I can see you. I'm a glorious ignoramus.
Mm.
And I took a class in the last 2 weeks with a wonderful man by the name of Nick. He spells his name Nic. Nick Askew. And oh my God, there's Gilmore Crosby is here today too. And wearing one of his college t-shirts, I think, maybe. Pittsburgh. Is that Pittsburgh what? Pirates or Pittsburgh U or?
Pittsburgh Pirates.
Okay. Okay. Great. So he has a Nick Askew, very wonderful human being, and he has this special process. I'm not sure exactly what he's calling it, but it's something like seeing the human soul. And he happens to be a talented photographer. And he does these very lovely black and white photographs and videos, but I've seen mainly photographs of different people. And a number of the photographs are like the right side of the face is quite dark, the left side of the face is rather bright. There's a lot of contrast. And he takes these photos, very importantly, as it'll be, of course, a person that he knows. That's how they showed up for their photo. And they don't speak anything. They don't say like, "Oh, hi Rob, by the way, before we get started, how are you doing today?" and whatever. He just and what he said is, these are my words anyway. I should say it like that. What I heard him saying was, when you just sit there and say nothing, and that's why I'm purposely leaving a lot of space between my words right here. When you sit here and say nothing, and there's no particular topic for this time, and the person just sits there quietly, you can often see this mask that most people, if not all of us, I'm not sure about myself, I guess so, just starts, I don't know, crumbling or rolling down off the face like this. And he says, in my words, he says, it's not at all that you're just seeing somewhat of a different face. You're seeing a different soul. And this topic of, so I've stopped looking to understand you or convince you, and now finally I can see you. I don't know, but I know that I don't know. I've really been thinking about that because Here's what I've discovered in my life, and you guys tell me in your life. I've never known a person, met a person, or known a person in my life where, oh, hi, how are you, Fred? Nice to meet you. And then I'm sitting there and I'm somehow thinking, oh, this Fred guy, he's so full of himself, or whatever negative commentary I have, which doesn't happen so much, but of course it does happen some. I've never met a person yet that I have negative unspoken commentary about. Unspoken commentary about. And of course, I'm not sitting there like making crazy faces as the person's talking. I've never found that one of those persons, likes me. I've always discovered that the people that I'm sitting there going, oh, there's Michael Landry. Oh my God, eating as the class going on. I should have known that. That person like Mike won't have some kind of negative commentary about me going on inside of him. And here's the deal. This is just my thinking, and I'm happy to hear everyone, as always, particularly Rob, is if I'm sitting here, let's say I'm coaching Rob for the first time, and in any way, shape, or form, I think something like, oh, he seems like a little OCD is, what do you call that?
OCD.
Called OCD.
What do you mean by that?
It's a
ADD, ADHD.
no, it's OCD.
OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah, see, an OCD person will always know what that means. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking that, and I'm thinking immediately, because I know so many good techniques and everything, if I'm at all thinking that about Rob, for instance, I know enough finally, after all these years, to know that Rob's getting the vibe. He's feeling the vibe. And so even if I have like a nice feeling about Rob, and I say, oh, he seems like a nice guy. I don't know what that stuff on his shelf behind him is about, but it seems like a nice guy. And yeah, OCD. He will feel that I'm sitting here believing that, quote unquote, something's wrong with him. Something really needs to be fixed. And I'm the person with all my talents and skills and everything to be able to fix him. Boy, it's good for him that he met me, by the way. I think that's what goes on a lot in coaching. Again, what we used to call, because I've been at this for so long, what we used to call therapy. We have negatively oriented appraisals of a person while acting like a nice person that really has the client's best mind and best interest in mind. So, Rob, what do you think about that? Having a client and having an opinion about what's quote unquote wrong with them, that you never, of course, speak out loud.
Well, first of all, I agree with what you're saying. I think on some level, typically, I think the person will sense it, will feel it, even if they're not consciously aware of it. Like I think somewhere in there, they're going to notice that something might be a little bit off. The
Yeah.
other thing is, as you were talking about it, Charlie, and this is such a rich topic. The other thing is, I have to live with the atmosphere of feeling that judgment.
Say that again, please.
Like when I get off a coaching call and I realize that I've been in that state of mind of really, really judging somebody, what also hits me is I'm living in an atmosphere where I have to feel kind of the ick of all that judgment I'm carrying.
Wow.
Which, when I really slow down, that's not very pleasant either.
Yes.
And then the other thing, I had a very interesting talk one time with Rachel Hott, who's one of my colleagues, and I was really having a tough time, full disclosure, because I was teaching a class, and there was a student that I noticed I had a lot of judgment about, and so I said to Rachel, I said, look, I'm a professional. I'm not going to indicate my judgment publicly or act on it in any way. I said, but I'm kind of torn. I don't know what to do with this. This is what I'm feeling. And she said something very astute. She said, can you be kind to the part of you that's feeling judgment? And that really it snapped me out of it for a moment. And I realized that not only was I judging this person, but I had all this judgment about myself judging the person. So
yeah, I was judging myself for judging this other person.
yeah, boy, talk about a vicious cycle.
So you're judging, you're judging, and it goes to take a page from the book, judgment all the way down instead of
right.
Yeah. And I've said this before, and I have to take a moment and say, gee, I hope nobody takes this too badly or too harshly, is that there was a long time where I thought I was the smartest guy in the room, the smartest person. And I'll be displaying that here in just a few minutes, kind of thing. I'm going to do the X, Y, or Z technique. It's going to really work well. I mean, I didn't have the conversation in a structured way like this, but, it's going to work well. And I think that most everybody will be really impressed by that. They'll be really impressed by me. And wow, is that another way to turn people off? Expecting or hoping or believing that they'll be really impressed by me. Charlie Badenhop, So when we're leading classes publicly or when we have private clients just on one-to-one, we're really, I believe, more than we usually recognize, we're really showing ourselves to the other person. We're showing what we believe to be the hidden parts of ourselves, which aren't all that hidden at all. So, and now I've stopped looking to understand you or convince you, And I can add there, or lead you, or show you what you don't know. And now finally I can see you. I'm a glorious ignoramus. So then there can be an interesting question that some people would have. If I just kind of read this to a new client, let's say, they might actually wind up replying, so why am I here with you? Why am I paying you? What is your, I mean, my God, you know? I would be very slow to answer that question to someone, by someone. And if anything, I think I would say, the reason that you're here, I'm acting as the coach and you're acting as the client. Well, I hope you'll be experiencing my kindness, and I hope you'll be experiencing some wisdom that comes from this space. I don't mean knowledge, from this very knowledgeable guy, Charlie. And of course, you do know that if you're really dissatisfied with the session, I'd be quite willing to give you your money back, even though I've only done that like twice in the last 20 years. And I've only done it twice because I've only been asked twice. It's not like I was asked 20 times, but I only did it twice. So as the professional, how are you coming across in the world? Does the other person feel respected and appreciated? Or, I don't know, are you coming across as some kind of know-it-all, or the guy in charge, or whatever? But let's be clear, it's not a level playing field here. You know, every once in a while, doesn't happen often, but it's very, very amazing when it does happen. I get a new client. I can't help but chuckle when I think of this right now. I get a new client, and it's like someone, I'm not even sure how I got this person as a client, because they're really operating in another part of the world than me, and I don't mean geographically. And they immediately start coaching me. Oh, you come from New York City, I think, right? And I could say, oh, you're a psychic or whatever, you know, how could you tell, how could you possibly know that? And then they're suggesting, even, I'm making this up a little bit, maybe I should take some diction classes so I'll be more acceptable to my clientele. And, oh, that's quite an odd shirt you're wearing there. Are you sure you made a good clothing decision? And they're coaching me. Just boom, said hello, and I can't help but feel before they got on the call, they must have been sitting there coming up with ideas of how they could really help me, even though they're paying me, and I'm meant to be the coach. So I'm wondering, I'm asking a question to the group. How do you think your clients experience you? Who'd like to take a shot at that?
Well, I'm trying to decide if having someone pay me so they can coach me is a good deal.
Say that again.
I'm trying to decide if having somebody pay me so that they can coach me is like a good deal.
It's very cost effective, if nothing else, for you.
Exactly. I think so.
Yeah, but you see, and I'm not looking to, to put my finger down on anyone too much, but I'm realizing at 70, within about exactly a month, I'll be 77. I'm realizing for the first time, or anyway, maybe I realized this a little bit before. My clients, like everybody else, meeting everyone else on the planet, my clients have opinions about me. And I mean, okay, I've had clients, not recently, but I've had clients who have said things like, Charlie, you teach ideas about Aikido and other somatic related things. And do you think it's all at all incongruent that you're 20 or 30 pounds overweight? And I can't, of course, lose that weight on the spot. And I'll have two realizations at the same time. And this relates back to what Rob said about judging, is part of me thinks, and depending on the day, which part comes up first, part of me thinks like, oh my goodness, this guy's meeting me, and within the first 30 seconds, he's offering me a negatively oriented judgment about me. He must have a good deal of judgments about himself. And then I take his question and I answer it in as even energy response as possible. So how about how do you think your clients experience you?
I just want to say that, like, what you were just sharing, like, for me, it's just it's really a beautiful way of dealing with that moment. Um, you know, I don't know that I always have that decorum or that I go there. Like if somebody says, Rob, you're what, I'm paying you as a coach, and look, you got a pot belly or this or that. Um, I I might go to clever, but I think the at least the place that you're speaking from, it seems like a place of kindness or empathy for this person. And for me, it really exemplifies the kind of the claim of Aikido of accepting what's coming at you and not opposing it. And so yeah, I just wanted to thank you for that, because that's even when I was sitting here and imagining kind of my response on your behalf, that wasn't where I went. And what you demonstrated was really was beautiful. And
Yeah. And I think much more than almost any of us realize, pretty much on a 24/7 basis, we really are creating for ourselves a self-fulfilling prophecy. And, you know, there's been a number of sessions already in this series where we talk about it. It's really bothering me. It's making me crazy. A lot of times that it is quote unquote you, meaning any one of you, and of course also meaning me. The it is really you creating a negatively oriented, self-fulfilling prophecy. Who, me?
Well, so Charlie, on a slightly more serious note about someone coaching who is a client coaching me, it gets interesting. Is what is can I can I be present and explore what's going on? Why are they why are they doing that?
Oh, I
What's
don't. Yeah.
the intent? What's the intention behind it? Yeah.
Yes. Well, Joe, in general, I find that why questions are a great way to mislead yourself. And I mean that like quote unquote universally. When we ask why questions, or when our clients ask why questions, why is this happening to me? You know, um, I think it's an excellent way. Go ahead.
I mean, I could say, what is their purpose? What is their intention?
Yes, all
How
of
is it deepening our connection, or what direction is it taking us in?
yeah. Well, here's what I'm suggesting, Joe, is that anytime anyone offers me themselves or a response that isn't friendly and appreciative towards me, somehow what they're doing is the self-judgments they have are bouncing back, and they're really self-judgments to an important extent that they have about themselves. And for instance, of course, if they're calling me too fat, they might consider themselves too skinny. So I'm not saying if they're calling me too fat, they feel too fat, but I'm saying they have this having a strong tendency to judge. And it's one thing, as I often say, it's one thing to have keen judgment. Ooh, I don't think I want to invest with this guy. He seems a little dicey to me. That could be excellent. And then there's the idea of being judgmental, which I think most of us are more than we realize.
Well, as Rob was saying, I love the way you hold the space, and that keto training, your other training that allows you to just be present and to listen. I think at times I still jump in a little quickly with a process or direction versus really letting it all settle in and take it all in. So I have a client right now, which I still haven't quite figured out all the pieces yet. And I'm asking, have I stepped in too quickly? Or, and am I possibly starting to, what judgments are they making because we haven't quite figured out the handle of all of this, how it's all working?
Well, my brother, Joel, answering simply from my own experience of life, important for me to say it like this, so we all understand, and it's so even that I understand. Chances are you'll never figure it all out.
I think I heard that in a poem recently.
Okay, you might have. You might have. You see, and there's where this interesting, I'm looking for the word, it's not dichotomy, it's some, anyway, this riddle, let's call it for now, of now that I've stopped looking to understand you, Joe, or convince you, or change you, or improve you, I'm adding a few words to the poem. Now, finally, I can see you. And if anything, maybe that's the reason why you're paying me. And Gilmore Crosby gave a very nice comment to the group. Can you, if you don't mind, can you speak that out loud, Gilmore? You have to take, yeah, good.
Sure. By the way, I'm particularly exhausted tonight. I had some laser surgery on my eye today that
Okay.
I didn't even realize was going to happen, and was great. I mean, it's great that they can do that. They like repaired holes in my retina in 10 minutes.
And you can see the truth more clearly now, is what you're saying, right?
I'm not saying that, Charlie.
Go ahead, sorry.
But I can still see.
Yeah.
And there's less chance of my retina detaching, which is a good thing. So, well, I just, I'm just listening, and the process of judging is, I think, inevitable, like Thanos. And like Charlie, you have to judge whether or not, well, you're probably judging whether or not we're understanding what you mean. So I think there's like judgments that are like harsh, and then there's something in between that's necessary. But I just believe that it's also easy to misjudge. And so I just added a little model that helps me, or at least has helped me come to that realization that I can easily misjudge. And that's it. So I just thought I'd add it
So
since
what
this
is
was
this model? You said I use some model.
The Interpersonal Gap by John Wellen.
Okay.
You put it in chat there.
Yeah, I stuck it in the chat.
You can
Okay.
download it if you want. But
Yeah.
I got it if you want
Okay.
later.
I
Yeah.
find I can teach this to groups of kids and they get it intuitively. And anyway, it's just sort of separating what we see and hear from what we then conclude. And but I agree with you 100%, Charlie. It's uh, if we bring if I start judging people as screwed up or something, they'll probably I'm screwed up in my own way in that moment, and, and they'll probably pick up on it.
Yes. Yeah. I call it the unspoken conversation. And maybe it's just me for having been so judgmental, and of course, sometimes still being judgmental. Maybe it's just because I've been doing it so much more than I thought I was. But
But you are fabulous, so your head might inflate at times.
yes,
I
well, no, I won't go there. Um,
only know that because the same thing happens to me.
yes.
All me.
Okay. And Sherry, are we not going to see you today because there's a good reason for that, I guess? Or, oh, there she is. And you have mute,
Sherry, can you unmute?
so you have to unmute Sherry.
Oh,
There you
you are.
go.
Horrible habit, but that's the way it goes. Yes, I am listening very closely, but I'm not going to stay and I'm not going to comment tonight. Good conversation. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, cool. No,
Uh,
no reason for anyone to have to respond.
no have to. That's it. I choose. All
Yes, cool, cool.
right. Night, guys.
Yes. When I first started studying with John Grinder and Judy DeLozier, they were truly amazing. The both of them up front, they had this very sophisticated pitter patter going on. And again, I say these things, these are just all my opinions. So rather than if you happen to meet Judy next month, you say, Charlie Badenhop was saying, not exactly like that, but what I'm pretty certain was happening now that I've been through a lot is they would start out, and usually when they started, Judy would be acting as the unconscious mind and the storyteller, whatever story came to her mind. And John would be acting as kind of like the sergeant at arms and putting out certain ideas fairly forcefully. And that would go on like that for the first hour or two. And then after we came back from a break, of course, none of us realized consciously at the time they had switched roles. And Judy started talking about the XYZ technique and being very explicit. And John just was wandering around with all of these stories. An incredible way to teach. So what I'm wanting to do today then is the following. If there's someone in the group that's willing to placate me. I'd like you to start and just as if you're meeting all of us for the first time. And Okay, it'd be like, hi guys, I'm Charlie Badenhop. And beding, 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 beding. Living in Thailand, whatever, whatever, whatever. Who's willing to do that self-introduction with me giving instructions that might be slow down, and this could be pause. I won't be saying, oh, don't say stuff like that, or say this, or slow down and pause maybe. So who's willing? And it could even, by the way, Jenny, who isn't feeling good today, and she wasn't putting her video image online, which is fine. Could even be someone like Jenny that we're not able to see at the moment.
I mean, if you want me to,
Well, let's just say it this way. Is there
I'm
anyone,
enjoying tonight, just listening and absorbing everything.
is
Very
there-
interesting. But I do have to get off at 9 o'clock.
okay,
But I'm really enjoying tonight. I really am. And I just want to make one comment about the judging mind, which I can be very judging at times still, is what Rob kind of said earlier, and you said it also. I do find it more as I age that people can sense it, they can feel it when I'm judging them. And I do also feel that it comes back to me. When I judge, it comes back to me. I really understand it now.
yeah. Let me just give this when I studied Aikido in Japan, which is the reason why I went there, and when I went there 40 years ago, and there were very few foreigners and stuff, it was really, and it was the first, I'd been to Europe once for like 2 weeks, but that was not in a way, wasn't even going overseas the way we did it, my friend and I. There I was in Tokyo, kind of feeling overwhelmed, but also okay. And so so we used to go out drinking with the senseis quite often, maybe 3 or 4 nights a week. I'd be going to class 6 nights a week, and we'd be going out with the sensei drinking, different senseis, 3 or 4 nights a week. But they were always working you, the senseis. So one of the little games we played, which had drinks involved or money, is Sensei would guess a number in his head he'd start off from 1 to 3. And let's say there was 5 of us, including him, out drinking. If you gave the wrong answer, you'd have to put in 1 drink into the kitty. So 1 to 3. And he'd say, okay, I got a number. And he'd say, Charlie-san. And I'd sit there and I'd take a deep breath and I'd say whatever number, 2. I got it wrong. I had to put some money into the drink kitty. I can say for sure, I got better and better at that as time went on. And one thing that's important to know in that regard, I didn't get to where I could just, be a know-it-all. And sometimes I made a mistake. And Joel Elfman is raising his hand. Okay, the system said Joel Elfman raised its hand, so I wanted to be responsive. Because intuition was deemed to be an important part of studying Aikido. And in Aikido, we used to say, and I still say, part of what you're there to learn is how to think with your breath. So, Ginny Brown, looking like she's working in a sorcerer's parlor right now, with very interesting lighting, and we can't really see her face, which is maybe perfect. And let me set it up, Ginny, and then you go. And remember, this means slow down if I do it, and this means pause. I can't say ladies and gentlemen because, oh no, there is a lady, just no picture on for her. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Virginia Brown. Please introduce yourself, Ginny, as if none of us ever met you before.
Hi, I'm Virginia, I'm Ginny Brown, and I live in Bayside, Queens, New York. I'm 67 years old. I'm retired from 2 jobs. I have 1 daughter who's getting married in October. And I live with my husband, James. And currently I'm not working. And I've had an interesting life. I met a lot of people. I worked interesting jobs. And the reason why I stopped working is I got kind of stuck in the medical circle the last 9 years. And every time I was about to get back on the horse, there was another hiccup. And recently, I've been healthy, although I do have to get re-scanned. I had a scan in February, and I thought everything was good, and it probably is good. But when I met with my surgeon, he wants me to get re-scanned because of something that was new, but something that's probably okay, but he just has to make sure.
Okay, let's pause there, and I'm really thankful for what you're doing, and it's great, by the way. And because I had to have a little conversation with myself to see what I wanted to say here.
My eyes are closing, Charlie.
Because I'm what's called a cancer survivor by, I think, actually the medical community, which when the medical community gives me a kind of compliment like that, I particularly feel good. All I can say is, I went in with stage 4 cancer. The doctor was honest enough and kind enough to tell me that I most likely wouldn't make it through the treatment protocol. And he said, I'm telling you that because you said you really want to know the truth. So, your stage 4 cancer, typically that means the person doesn't make it through the treatment protocol. And I took a deep breath and I said, I'm not happy to hear what you just told me, but I'm very, very thankful that you just told me what you told me, because that lets me know, that gets me to understand the mountain I have to climb here. So, I just have this one experience with cancer. I don't have the data of another 2,000 people or whatever, and I certainly have no intention of getting cancer again. But what I do know is, what I feel like I strongly understand that comes from my being, this knowledge, is that it was very important for me to make what I call my energetic signature larger, or now if I'm making this metaphor, my energetic footprint larger than the footprint of the cancer.
Mm.
Not with the intent of like stepping on that cancer footprint and squashing it and, you know, making it go out of existence, but just to make my energy, to make my energy of Charlie, the life affirming energy of Charlie.
Can I interrupt, Charlie?
Yes.
That was very useful because I've been actually stepping into that energy and not living in fear right now. Stepping into that energy that you just spoke about. Thank you.
Yes, good, good. Because, you know, I'll back up a little bit here, and I'm not going to do like a quote unquote real ki, but I'm going to do a ki. And ki means life energy, and I, there's many different meanings for the word I in the Japanese language. One could be love, in fact, but ki, it's like a gathering, to gather. So to gather your ki. So let me back up a little bit. And of course, I've been coughing a lot, as I often do now. Yee! And I'll do one more. Yee!
Wow. Can you explain how you did that, Charlie?
Excuse me?
Can you explain how you breathe it in? Because that would be very useful for me. Because a lot of times this happens with, not a lot of times, this one time, but I, like you, have a lot of mucus and different stuff on my chest. And that's why it can show that there's something astray when it's not. It's just the landscape of my chest.
Yeah,
So this
yeah, yeah. But I'm going to slow you down there, Jenny.
okay.
Is first of all, just doing only 2 ki
Mm-hmm.
has affected me emotionally.
Mm.
And when I say, in this instance, affected me emotionally. I don't mean like I'm feeling sad all of a sudden or I'm feeling whatever all of a sudden. I feel like there was some container and I just shook it once really hard, but not violently. And all of this stuff kind of fell to the ground.
Yeah.
And I feel clearer than I did before. So let's ask people, and again, only interested in quote unquote the truth. What did anybody feel in regard to hearing that ki? And then what do people think that, why is Charlie even doing this or whatever? So what's the response to the ki, please, from you people?
Well, I loved it, and I want to know how you breathe it in.
Okay. Anyone else, please? Yes, Mike.
Well, it's that energy, that sense of energy. To me, it's an anchor, which is probably because I haven't done judo. And when you do that noise, it brings that sense of, that you're ready for competition and you're going to, meet things head on. No different than the haka, the New Zealanders do. That they get in that zone. And so when you did it, I felt it as well.
Yes. To all of that. And yes, I've had people go, gee, it felt so bloody violent to me. I've had people say more than once, you can imagine. And I go, okay, I can understand you saying that. I can just tell you that it's not at all my intention and I don't experience it like that, but I do really honor the fact that you just told me that to you, it seemed really violent. And I take a deep breath. Anyone else want to? Okay.
Charlie, it feels like you're really,
Yeah, let me
like
tell
you're
you.
really grounding, and you're also clearing space around you.
Yes. If someone asked me, for instance, let's say I did 5 minutes of meditation in this class, and I'm sitting there with my eyes closed, and then the 5 minutes is up. I set an alarm, and Rob Schwartz says, "Wow, Charlie, can you tell me what you were doing during that meditation?" And I would chuckle and most likely say, "Well, I was attempting to do nothing." If you can do nothing, And so what I do with the ki, and I would suggest it would be good for everyone to try it on their own. I won't put anybody on the spot right now and having them do it, is, I can do this rather instantaneously if it was necessary. Meaning, like, all of a sudden someone breaks into my house and he's got a weapon even. And it's like, I have no time to say, guys, hold on for a minute. And I turn to this guy. I would most likely do a ki instantaneously. While I was also perhaps moving towards him. So what you're looking to do is relax your muscle system. How do you relax your muscle system? Here I am sitting there like this telling you how I relax my muscle system. And you go, wow, Charlie, you really seem to be holding your shoulders up really high. Is that necessary? Oh, excuse me. So relaxing your muscle system while breathing all the way down to your pelvic floor and feeling the pelvic floor gently pushing on your anal sphincter. And then exhaling slowly. And a couple of times like that, when I'm teaching this. And then after I'm really full, I make the sound. So Rob Schwartz is raising his hand.
Well, I was going to say, Charlie, it's, it's a little bit in answer to Ginny's question. It's a little bit like seeing an opera singer get on stage and spontaneously articulating something. Like in Aikido, I think, I don't know about Charlie and I kind of in different lineages, but in our school, you do the rowing exercise and there's this sort of like, hey, oh, hey, oh, and it's just something you're practicing. So it may not be this full expression that Charlie's doing every time, but it's something that you can do, Ginny, and begin to feel what
Thank
it's
you.
like to just get a little energy flowing. And then someday
Thank you
you
so
might be
much.
an opera singer like Charlie, where it's just like comes out.
No, I really need to do this exercise. Thank you so much.
Yes, so I won't attempt
Thank
to teach the rowing exercise right now because it'd be a little hard maybe with the screen size and everything. But Rob, yes, because it's like it's just like
Tonight,
and
I
back
want to,
and knee and back and some she and this the counting, the itchy knee, some, the beginning, all of those numbers, they all have the in front of it. You don't do itch, knee, some at all. So the is what gets the forward movement going. And
that's great.
one thing I've really found, like when I was teaching, and I taught
I'm
in my
sorry, I
sensei.
gotta leave in like 2 minutes, but I just want to thank you all. I got so much out of tonight. It was so incredible. I really, really thank you.
Well, we thank you for thanking us. Truly.
Yeah, that was truly a gift tonight. Thank you so much.
So I would teach, and my sensei was worldwide famous. So people would come from all over the world, and they'd always be incredibly disappointed, even maybe angry, some of them, that they came all this way to the headquarters dojo in Tokyo only to find a goddamn foreigner teaching the class. Oh, there was like huge, and some people, God bless them, actually voiced that disappointment to me. And they'd say, because we'd be sitting around before class, and one or two of them would say, I hope so it's funny, it's hilarious when people say, I hope you won't mind when I say this. But you're really a piece of shit, And I'm so disappointed to see a foreigner teaching a class. And then sometimes they would say, I do have the ability to speak in Japanese. If you like, I could teach the class in Japanese. Would that help you to feel better? But I'd need the eye makeup and stuff so that this is how people know us. It's our energetic signature. Which is also just part of this whole that we are. And I believe, this is only a belief, that our unconscious mind for instance, the mind of Rob Schwartz when he was a 1 hour old baby, maybe even less than an hour, the moment he was born. And then, I don't know if you can believe it, but the first couple of years of his life, Rob couldn't even speak English. It's just a miracle that he's still alive and with us here today. So this are really what I call now our really unconscious mind. I like to say subconscious mind, meaning below consciousness, doesn't even know your name. Your subconscious mind has been loving and protecting and supporting Rob Schwartz. Well, I'm guessing in utero even, of course. And our subconscious mind really, really, really understands energy. And that's how your subconscious mind knows whether it's feeling threatened right now or safe or loved. And of course, your subconscious mind doesn't say, oh, I'm feeling loved right now. Isn't that wonderful? Because another thing, particularly for Americans to understand and believe, your subconscious mind doesn't speak English. Sorry. But it doesn't speak English. And it understands everything as a gestalt, meaning it senses and reacts to all of the pieces in the puzzle. This puzzle now of the 6 of us being here, for instance. And it very much understands it. It just doesn't then start talking about what it's experiencing to itself. That's your cognitive or rational mind.
So Charlie, we're at 10 after.
Excuse me?
We're at 10 after
Okay.
to save the time frame.
Okay, thank you. We normally go to the max to 20 after, I think. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Let
Okay.
the record show.
Excuse me, Rob?
I said, let the record show.
Let the record show. So Ginny's got to go. Bye-bye, Ginny.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Feel better, Jen.
So in these last few minutes, is there anything at all that any of you, 1, 2, 3, 4, would like to share with the group? Mike.
It was really good talking about that judgmental aspect and to be aware of it ourselves, because it impacts the way we then deal with people, the way that they see us as well. Sometimes we're not aware of it. With all the political bullshit going on in the U.S., I can see how one side says things, the other side you just go, "Geez," and I'm seeing it from from a different country, being in Australia, but and having issues with family members about judgmental bullshit as well. I just think, it impacts their lives and it impacts the way I deal with them. And sometimes when I get pissed off about it, it impacts then how I deal with other people, which is I'm trying to be more aware of.
Yeah. I've been very careful, or believing I've been very careful about not talking about the American political scene. Because, oh my goodness, there's no truth there in my mind. So if I was to say, I think it's really terrible, I don't know, that US aid is no longer getting funded or whatever, there would likely be at least one, if not more, persons that would immediately jump on me and saying, I think it's the best thing that's happened in the last 50 years. So I think this is just my opinion. I think Americans, for the most part, and that's a generalization, of course, I'm not describing Rob Schwartz at the moment, or Joel Elfman, or maybe even not Gilmore Crosby, is people have lost the ability, maybe never had it, a lot of the people, to feel for the truth behind what that other person just said.
That's an essential part of democracy.
Yes,
It should be.
yes.
It is.
Let's
That's why we don't
not go
have one.
crazy here, guys. Come on.
That's why we don't have one.
And you know, like I have a couple of, well, I have one very, very good European friend. I mean, one of my best friends, not just a friend. And he likes to, at times, talk about how the United States is one of the, most likely the most uncaring major societies in the world. And if I ask him, what do you mean by that? He says, well, for instance, look at the medical system. Most of the citizens can't really afford it. Look at the higher education system. Most of the people can't really afford it. Look at all sorts of things that the average person can't really afford, is what he's saying. And Rob Schwartz answers that with what, please?
Actually, I'm gonna change the subject a little bit. Which, which was, what I was gonna share about tonight was in a time when everything is speeding up and there's just like the tempo of life, at least my experience of it is that it's always increasing and that there's so much to keep up with, and then the news cycle and all that mishigas. It's nice to come to a place where we're going in the other direction, where we're actually slowing down
Yes,
and getting into a more timeless
yes.
experience of time.
And
So-
thank you for redirecting me.
So
Seriously, thank you for redirecting me. So here we are. I'm thinking of a rock and roll lyric somewhere in the back there, but the lyric didn't come out clearly. Something like Soldiers of the Ark or something. Here we are. Doing our best to go through life in a kind, caring manner, while also being, quote unquote, reasonably successful. Meaning we're making an okay living, and the people and situations that help us make that living, we're treating them with kindness and appreciation. And realizing we're not the smartest person in the room, and knowing that you don't know, and even getting to the point or place where you love the fact that you don't know, because you can never know for sure. So I'm suggesting you might want to stop looking to understand people And that will help you to finally see them. And you can celebrate yourself, as I'm doing this week in particular, as a glorious ignoramus.
Amen.
Amen. Don't forget the collection box in the back of the church. Plays an important role in keeping it all going. Okay, guys. I'll hopefully see all of you and maybe even a couple of others in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks,
All right,
Charlie.
thank you,
Thanks,
Charlie.
everyone.
Thank you.
Hope on cop. Thank you. Bye-bye.